The rain poured like the sky itself was mourning, streaking the cafe windows in silver tears. Inside, the warm, yellow light flickered softly against polished wooden tables, and the soft hum of conversations filled the air. She sat by the corner window, clutching her second-hand purse so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Her heart pounded louder than the jazz music playing in the background. She looked down at her reflection in the cup of coffee she couldn't afford and whispered a silent prayer. Please let him not judge me. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that life can change in the most unexpected moments, then please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because this story might just remind you that miracles sometimes come disguised as ordinary people. Her name was Aisha, a 25-year-old graduate who had been searching for a stable job for almost a year. She had sent out dozens of resumes, faced countless rejections, and even taken up part-time shifts at a bookstore just to survive. Life had been merciless lately. Her mother was sick, her younger brother still in school, and every day was a balancing act between paying bills and keeping hope alive. When her best friend Zara insisted she go on a blind date just to breathe again, Aisha hesitated. She had no time for love and certainly no money for cafes that charged more than she earned in a day. But Zara had arranged everything, promising the guy was decent, humble, and not one of those men who measured people by money. So here she was, sitting in a cafe she could never afford, wearing a simple blue dress she had borrowed, and waiting for a man she had never met. She watched the rain blur the world outside, wishing it would also blur her insecurities. Her shoes were old, her phone cracked, and she had spent the last of her money on a small cup of coffee to avoid looking out of place. A few minutes later, a man entered, tall, sharply dressed, yet with a warmth in his eyes that didn't match his expensive suit. He scanned the cafe, and when his eyes met hers, he smiled. She stood up awkwardly, trying to hide the nervousness trembling in her hands. "Aisha?" he asked gently. She nodded. He extended his hand. "I'm Ryan." From that moment, something about him made her feel seen, not judged, not pitied, just seen. He spoke softly, with genuine curiosity. He asked about her dreams, her family, her struggles, and listened, really listened, without interrupting or pretending. For the first time in months, Aisha felt like someone cared to know who she was, not just what she lacked. She tried to keep her answers light, avoiding mention of her financial struggles. She didn't want pity to taint this rare moment of normalcy. Yet her honesty slipped through when she spoke about her late father, who had once owned a small stationery shop before debt consumed everything. Ryan noticed the sadness behind her polite smile, but didn't press further. He simply said, "You have strength in your eyes. Most people don't realize how much courage it takes just to keep showing up." Hours passed like minutes. They laughed, shared stories, and when she realized it was time to leave, she felt an ache in her chest, a strange mix of gratitude and sadness. She didn't want the night to end, but she also knew she couldn't afford more than that one cup of coffee. When the waiter brought the bill, her heart dropped. It wasn't just her coffee. Ryan had ordered a meal and dessert, insisting she try some. The total was more than she had in her entire purse. Panic rose in her throat as she fumbled, pretending to check her bag. Her mind raced. Should she tell him she couldn't pay? Should she excuse herself and leave quietly? But Ryan was watching her, his gaze kind yet knowing. Aisha's fingers trembled as she whispered, I think I left my wallet at home." Her voice cracked on the last word. Shame burned through her like fire. She couldn't meet his eyes. The cafe suddenly felt too bright, too silent, too cruel. She imagined the waiters judging her, the whispers forming, the pitying stares. She wished she could vanish into the rain. But then Ryan leaned forward and said calmly, "It's on me." Those 3 words, simple, gentle, and without a trace of condescension, broke something inside her. He didn't laugh. He didn't tease. He didn't act surprised. He just smiled as if paying was the most natural thing in the world. "You've already paid me," he said softly, "with your honesty." Aisha didn't know what to say. She wanted to thank him, but her voice caught in her throat. The kindness felt too big, too pure. She wasn't used to people giving without expecting anything in return. As they walked outside, the rain had softened to a drizzle. Ryan held his umbrella over her as they walked to the bus stop. He didn't offer her a ride. He seemed to sense that she'd be too proud to accept. But before parting, he said something that stayed with her long after. Sometimes, Aisha, life gives us moments that feel small but change everything. Don't run from them. You deserve good things too. That night, Aisha lay awake replaying the evening in her mind. His words echoed in her heart. You deserve good things too. For someone who had spent years believing she didn't, those words felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Days passed. She went back to her routine, juggling job applications, hospital visits, and sleepless nights. But something in her had shifted. She found herself smiling more, daring to dream again. A week later, she received a call from a company she didn't remember applying to. They wanted her for an interview. Nervous but hopeful, she dressed neatly, borrowed Zara's handbag again, and walked into the tall glass building downtown. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw who was waiting in the meeting room. It was Ryan. She froze at the door, words failing her. He smiled gently, the same warmth in his eyes. Aisha, I didn't mean to surprise you. I should have told you, I'm the CEO here. But I wanted to see who you were before you saw what I have. Her knees nearly gave way. She stammered, You're the CEO? The realization hit her like a wave. The expensive suit, the calm confidence. It all made sense now. He wasn't just a kind man at a cafe. He was someone powerful, someone who could have easily judged her. But didn't. Ryan walked closer, his tone sincere. That night I saw someone with resilience, not struggle. I wanted to meet you again, and this time professionally. I think you'd fit perfectly in our creative department. You have heart, and that's rare. Aisha blinked back tears. Life had twisted in the most unexpected way. The man she had embarrassed herself in front of was offering her a chance, not out of pity, but out of belief. She got the job. Weeks turned into months, and Aisha proved herself. She worked tirelessly, her ideas vibrant, her dedication unmatched. Ryan often watched her from a distance during meetings, proud of the woman who once couldn't afford a cup of coffee, but now contributed to million-dollar projects. He never treated her differently, never mentioned the Café incident, and respected her independence. But sometimes, when their eyes met across the boardroom, there was an unspoken connection, a story only they shared. One evening, after a long day at work, Aisha stayed behind to finish a report. As she stepped outside, she found Ryan waiting by the exit, umbrella in hand again, just like that rainy night months ago. You still don't like being driven home, do you? He said with a soft smile. She laughed shyly, shaking her head. Old habits. They walked under the city lights, silence comfortable between them. After a moment, Ryan said quietly, You've changed a lot. She looked at him, surprised. How so? He paused. You smile with hope now. That's the most beautiful change of all. Her heart fluttered, but she didn't reply. Instead, she whispered, Thank you for everything. He looked at her then, really looked, and said, It was never about me helping you. You helped me remember why I started all this in the first place. Success means nothing if you forget kindness. That night, under a streetlight shimmering with raindrops, Aisha realized that sometimes fate doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we need. And what she needed that day at the cafe wasn't a romantic date or even a miracle. She needed someone to remind her of her worth when she had forgotten it herself. Months later, as her career flourished, Ryan invited her to an awards ceremony. His company was being recognized for its social initiatives, scholarships, job programs, and community outreach projects. When he went on stage to speak, he mentioned her name. This all began with one person who reminded me what real courage looks like. She's sitting here tonight, someone who once thought she had nothing but ended up giving me everything. Perspective, purpose, and hope. Tears blurred Aisha's eyes. She never thought her story would be told that way, not as a tale of struggle, but of strength. After the ceremony, as the lights dimmed and applause echoed, Ryan approached her quietly. You inspired a change in me, Aisha, and I hope someday you'll let me return that gift. Not as your boss, but maybe as something more. She smiled through tears, her heart full. Maybe someday, she whispered. And as they stood there beneath the soft glow of chandeliers and distant music, Aisha realized the rain had finally stopped, both outside and within her. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Stories like these remind us that kindness can rewrite someone's destiny. Before we end, I have one special request. Comment below. Do you believe a simple act of kindness can change a life? Because sometimes all it takes is 3 words, "It's on me," to turn a broken moment into a beautiful beginning.